Okay, let's get this party started. Thank you everyone for joining us today for our webinar. This is our bi-monthly series, Cybersecurity Best Practices. And today we'll be talking about MXDR for K-12 school districts, and we'll be looking at a real-life case study with Torrance Unified. I have with me Jeff Teitelbaum, one of our senior solutions engineers, and my name is Daniel Eickhoff. But before we dive in, let's take a quick look at the K-12 space and see what kind of challenges school districts are facing these days. The education space is under attack, and this is a great visualization of that fact. Our SOC and web development teams got together and created this map. It's available on our website. It shows cyber attacks across the country, attacks on school districts specifically, and not all of them, actually, just the ones we are tracking here at Securus 360. And the map's interactive. It provides information on each attack and links to news reports. It's really good resource. The hackers are after children's data. School districts have a lot of it, a lot of sensitive information, which of course makes them prime targets. And once that data gets out, it's devastating for the families. Ransomware attacks are the most common type of attack. The average cost for a school district is $4 million. And these types of attacks, they're getting more frequent, and they're getting more sophisticated all the time. Even large districts like Los Angeles Unified last year, they got breached. And Minneapolis Public Schools is a recent example where a ton of student data was leaked on the dark web. The community parents were not happy. Denver Public Schools, interesting situation here because the breach happened 6 months ago, and we're still finding out the extent and of the damage and how much data was actually stolen and leaked. And then that's kind of naturally school districts are kind of slow walking the release of information about a breach if they suffered one. And the criminals, however, they're getting impatient. And they start using new methods. So in this case of Bluefield University, the attackers hijacked the school's emergency alert system. The school has a way of communicating with parents and students and teachers via text and email in case of an emergency. And the ransomware gang hijacked that system, and they started communicating directly to students and parents. Different studies out there, and they all are indicating that the education space is now the #1 most targeted industry for cyber attacks. This is another set of data. So let's see what school districts can do to protect themselves. And this is one of our customers, Torrance Unified School District. And let's take a look at the challenges this district was facing and the solution they ended up implementing. Torrance is located in California. They've been around for about 75 years, which I guess is pretty old for California standards. And it's a good sized school district, 23,000 students, 2,100 faculty and staff, 300 plus million budget. They have a very capable team, but no dedicated cybersecurity staff. Their network, roughly 3,000 workstations and servers. Of course, they have a lot of stuff in the cloud. They have 2 different cloud-based productivity apps. For an SIS, they're using PowerSchool, and all of their traffic is going through 2 core switches. On the security side, they had a very solid antivirus and a proper firewall. And So quick note, throughout the presentation, you'll see some quotes, and all quotes are from Mr. Gil Mara, this handsome gentleman right here. He is the CTO at Torrance Unified. This is what they were up against. With limited staff and budget, they just didn't have the bandwidth to accomplish all the different things they needed to do. Again, no cybersecurity staff, and they were piecing together solutions as well as possible, but they were still vulnerable. A growing digital footprint, as we see in all school districts, that means a growing attack surface, which requires automated and integrated cybersecurity solutions. K-12 districts now prime target for cyber attacks, and this was adding enormous stress to their already maxed out IT team. So what they really needed was expertise in multiple areas, and they needed 24/7 support in monitoring and analyzing and remediating threats. Gil, in his own words, this is how he's describing it. He said, "We have 2 engineers. That's on top of him, right? And they have some help desk, of course. But with our size district, there's no way we could do it ourselves. Even if we implemented best practices, we still didn't have enough people to manage it all." So that's where we come in. And the solution we implemented is a multi-vector MXDR platform with machine learning to allow for active threat hunting and monitoring of the entire network. That way we can detect attacks before they can do damage. And by multi-vector, we mean we are monitoring workstations, servers, network traffic, different cloud environments, user behavior. So all this together gives Torrance visibility across their entire network. 24/7, 365 SOC provides a full service response to threats and alerts, and there's a team of cybersecurity experts who investigate and contain and remediate even the most advanced threats. EDR comes with the platform, so we can shut down machines, cut them off of the network to contain a threat. And Torrance actually did not have an EDR solution in place before signing with Security 360, so that came with the platform. And also they didn't have a SIEM. And that's where we collect, coalesce, and then present the security data from all the different devices on a single pane of glass. Vulnerability assessments was another thing that was important for Torrance because they needed to be able to proactively identify and address vulnerabilities before they could be exploited by bad actors. And finally, we back up our services with the $500,000 cyber warranty, which adds a layer of financial security that goes a long way in the overall protection of a school district. The benefits for Torrance from that solution, and Gil talks about that a lot, is first of all was peace of mind. So knowing that they had full protection and the complete visibility really made Gil and the other district senior leadership made them confident that they were protected. Our team really acts as an extension of Gil's team, and our experts are available to Torrance 24/7, 365, which also, by taking the cybersecurity tasks off their plate, frees up a lot of time for their team so they can focus on keeping IT running across all their different campuses. Gil did the math, and he came up with about $1 million that they were saving in costs compared to the do-it-yourself alternative. And this is how, this is his thought process. He said, we would have had to hire 2 to 3 full-time employees to do in-house what Security 360 is doing for us. Plus the technology, the cost to do it ourselves would be about $1 million. So quite compelling there. It also helps them meet their insurance, their cyber insurance requirements. And again, the cyber warranty. So kind of this goes back to peace of mind. So kind of almost full circle with having being confident and having the peace of mind of being fully protected. So before they partnered with us, they were looking at a number of options and vendors, and these are some of the things that were important to Torrance in their decision making. The first, proactive communication was important. Quick SOC response times, having monthly meetings with our team, responsive tech support, not just the SOC, but tech support address to make sure we can address issues before they become a problem. They were looking for top-notch expertise combined with world-class technology and a really personalized service. So they appreciated it when we went in there and we took our time to understand their environment and what they were trying to achieve, and then came up with the right solution and configuration. Cost and budget always a big part for the decision with any school district. And lastly, Gil and his team, they really liked the fact that Securus 360 is 100% focused on education. We understand the requirements, the needs, the challenges of school districts better than any other vendor. With that, let me hand it over to Jeff to talk a bit more about the services in more detail and look at some examples of alerts, including some malicious activities that we were able to pick up on for Torrance. And before Jeff gets started, a quick note: we'll be happy to take questions after Jeff's part. So please use the Q&A tool to submit your questions, and then after this part, we'll do Q&A. Jeff.
All right. Thanks, Daniel, for the introduction, and thanks to everyone in attendance today. Once again, my name's Jeff Teitelbaum. I'm a senior solutions engineer here at Securus 360. And piggybacking off of what Daniel was talking about, we'll just dive a little deeper in terms of what we were able to do for Torrance USD and how we were able to help them in terms of preventing certain types of attacks. So what we're looking at here is a alert that was triggered from a removable media. This is an attack that's pretty scary these days, especially if you don't have any protections against that, especially things like a EDR solution, ideally more combined in a MXDR stack. But the reason this is so scary is because a lot of times people don't really need a lot of technical know-how to cause a lot of damage with just a simple USB device. You have a lot of things out there like a bad USB is what it's called, or for those of you that are familiar with the OMG cable, these can do really, really nasty stuff without much technical knowledge at all. So especially in environments where you have a lot of users like schools, you have student networks and staff, or hopefully those are separated. If those maybe aren't separate, they're maybe in separate VLANs, but don't have firewall rules in between them properly, then something like this could do a lot of damage with just a student coming in and plugging in a USB or taking that USB over to a machine they don't have access to. So very important to keep attacks like this in mind. And we can see there TRL.exe, that could have been triggered due to the Flash player there. We're looking for all kinds of vulnerabilities like that, and we're going to thwart them in real time as best as possible to make sure that your site and your student data remains protected. And we're not just looking at one type of thing, we're looking at as many types of attacks as we possibly can. And we're not looking at just local attacks like this. This is more specifically a very physical form of attack, or not necessarily an attack, but someone putting a potential indicator of compromise. But we're also looking at your cloud infrastructure. because everyone in this day and age, it's very rare that someone is solidly all on-prem. You're likely going to have some kind of SaaS-based solution and cloud-based architecture like Office 365 or Google Workspace are very commonly used. So we want to look out for any potential compromise on that level as well. Just looking at the cloud vector also. So things like unapproved foreign country login. If you're not expecting anyone from the Bahamas there to log into your infrastructure, and that was actually a known malicious IP that was flagged, we are going to alert and thwart attempts like that. And every once in a while, who knows, it may be a student using a VPN or something like that. That does come up sometimes. But just want to give a highlight of some real world examples as far as some alerts we were able to detect and prevent. And as I mentioned, we're looking at all types of different attacks. So you're going to see some variation in terms of the types of alerts that are generated, but these are just some of the common ones you may see. And not exhaustive by any means. These are just the top main 5 that are pretty common. So things like user account lockouts or Office 365. Once again, we're looking at just the on-prem and we're looking at on-prem and the cloud, not just one. So attempts like that, especially with new users created, especially if that's a admin account, that's a potential indicator of compromise. We're going to look at all these different things. For files execution, our EDR is going to pick up on things like that. So if you're running maybe unsafe, unsigned packages, we're going to detect things like that, thwart them, and alert on them accordingly. And the last item we have here, potential Java or JNDI exploitation attempt. There are still a lot of systems out there that have the Java runtime environment and lots of ways that that can potentially be compromised. So we definitely keep a high alert out for that, which is why that's rated so high. And I just want to mention real quick that as far as the alert count goes, we do group them accordingly. So it's not like we sent out 3,268 individual alerts. We do consolidate those because the whole point is to reduce alert fatigue, not just bombard you with alerts. And we do help you as we go through that and making sure that everything is up to par. But everything we've been talking about so far is kind of a more reactive approach where if something happens, we have contingencies in place to contain that and make sure that you're not compromised. But it's very beneficial, we found, to have proactive approaches as well, not just reactive. And one way we go about that is by using quarterly vulnerability assessment scans. And we'll just take a quick look at a example here. This in particular is a old server here, 2008 R2. So not surprising that we're going to see some vulnerabilities there. You can see some critical vulnerabilities listed there. This one in particular is referring to the Eternal Blue exploit. It's a Windows Server Message Block or SMBV1 exploit. And Petya ransomware in particular uses that. By no means is that the only one. It's a pretty common vehicle for ransomware. So these are some things that we're going to look for. And we understand you may have some old servers running still. And if that's the case, you need to keep them running. We'll guide appropriately and ensure that those are firewalled off and that if they need to be kept running, that they're not as little of a risk to you as possible. And we do have a summary of vulnerabilities over on the right-hand side as well. And level 5 is going to be the highest. And we will go over those with you during our monthly calls and reports, which is what we're about to get to now here. So the monthly report, we do send these out regularly, and we include the vulnerability assessment results as well. During our monthly call, we will go over any critical tickets. We do this with Torrance every month. We'll go over any tickets that are pending, any pending actions or anything like that. We actually go over the vulnerability assessment with you, where it's very easy to just send a bunch of data over and say, hey, did you guys review it? Let us know if you have any questions. But we want to go the extra mile and really make sure we're highlighting all of the important things that are a potential threat to your environment. In addition to that, we also have a security scorecard. It's a very solid solution. This is primarily focused on external threats. So we take the vulnerability results and the security scorecard, we go over both those and highlight the most critical areas that need to be addressed, patch things so that they don't become a potential area of compromise, and just really reducing that attack surface as much as we possibly can. And then we'll discuss other things, such as if there's any new solutions you've gotten that you want to integrate into the platform, we can certainly do that as well. And another thing we do is the incident response plan. We're able to do this for Torrance as well. And the main benefit here is if something happens, yes, we have all this technology and everything, but that's only as good as how well you've planned. If something happens and you're running around trying to figure out how to stop this from spreading, or maybe we contained it, but you want to take some additional action, you really just want a concrete, solid plan in front of you. Think of it as kind of a break, in case of emergency, break glass kind of thing, where you can just refer to this and everyone can get involved. Ideally, we have we have war rooms set up so that everyone as far as the various different teams have a area to jump in and communicate, because if your Office and 365 users are compromised, let's say, you may not be able to get on Teams. So these are things that we take into account as well. All right. And if we have
Thank
any
you. Oh, sorry, Jeff. Yeah.
No worries.
We'll do Q&A. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. That was really helpful. A lot of details there. A lot of things we're doing for Torrance to keep them safe and secure. And so now we already have a couple questions, so thank you for that. But if there's any other questions, again, use the Q&A tool to submit your questions, and I'll be happy to put them in front of Jeff. And the first question is, has Securus 360 thwarted any hacking attempts for Torrance USD so far?
We have, yes. We've stopped items. Nothing got through, thankfully, which means we're doing our job here.
Okay, I guess we can't go into any details there, but yeah, that's good. I know we've picked up on different malicious activities. All right, second question. Can you lock out an Office 365 account if we determine it to be compromised?
Yes, we can do that. We are tapped into those cloud APIs, so we have a feed into that. We get all those events, and we can take action on that if there's a indication of compromise there, and close that down. That way, it can't compromise your infrastructure further. Yes, we can. Okay,
good. All right. Next question, and again, I have two more questions, but we have some time for some more, so keep them coming. Next question. What MXDR solution did Torrance USD have prior to partnering with Securus 360?
So they actually did not have a MXDR solution. In fact, there was no EDR either until we came along.
Yeah, right. They had a solid firewall. They had, I think, Microsoft Defender, which was working well, but yeah, no advanced tools. Okay, last question I have, but happy to address more here if you have any. But the last question so far, we have Sophos EDR. Can we integrate with your platform, or do we have to use your EDR?
That's a great question. So there's a couple routes we can go there. So certainly our EDR is an option, but we also understand a lot of you may be under contracts and things like that, or maybe you just happen to like your EDR for that matter. So we also offer the ability to, if you want to be onboarded with a third-party EDR that's not ours, we can absolutely integrate those logs in and take action for any indications of compromise and alerts that come up.
Okay, great. If there aren't any more questions, thank you for those. But yeah, here's a quick housekeeping note. The next event will be in November on the 23rd, and the topic is security awareness training. Most breaches actually go back to a successful social engineering attack. Most commonly phishing, but also others. But addressing the human element by educating your staff is a very effective way to improve your cybersecurity posture. So Secures 360, we do offer like basic security awareness training is included with our service. But for more in-depth training, we are partnering with a company called CyberReady. They're a leader in the security awareness training space, and they're a great partner of ours. And we really recommend our customers use their service or a similar service. It's really important. And so this webinar will be co-hosted, and they will be there to talk about their training. So thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy days to look at this together. I hope you got some good information out of this, and maybe some food for thought. Certainly, if you have any questions about the solution, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is on the screen, but you probably, you got my invitation emails to this event, so you have my information. For technical questions, if you don't want to talk to me, I'm on the sales side. Jeff is always available for you. If you have questions, feel free to email Jeff, and he'll be able to and happy to answer questions that you have. So thanks again, and have a great rest of the day.